In this video, I'm going to be going over the Chevy 63 leaf spring swap on my Toyota pickup. And if you're interested in this project, or maybe you've already done it yourself and are running into some issues, make sure to stick around. I'll be sure to go over everything I did in this project. So the reason I went with the Chevy leaf springs was because I wanted a more flexible, soft spring that would be more comfortable on the road compared to a stiffer lift spring. And after driving it for a while, I can definitely say that it is a lot better than the stock spring, I guess, with the lift block. So that was definitely a good upgrade for road drivability, and you can see from the beginning that it flexes pretty good too. I ended up going with the Skies Off-Road Chevy 63 swap kit, and in hindsight, I would have gotten a kit with less of the things that this one came with, preferably a kit without the shocks and without the relocation. And I definitely would have just made my own relocation and reused the shocks that I had. I just think that that added a bunch of additional cost to what could have been a cheaper kind of project. With the leaf springs being only $50 and the new bushings only $20, and so I just thought that spending $700 on the kit was kind of ridiculous. But anyways, I started by drawing the center onto the frame, and my idea here was to leave one side attached while I tore the other side apart, so that way the axle stayed right in the same exact spot as it was before. And this would allow me to kind of just put the leaf spring on the center pin or the center hole and just kind of see where it wanted to go instead of trying to get the equations super dialed in and whatnot. So here's kind of one of the trickiest spots to get to on this project. So I just kind of took the skid plate off of the fuel tank and put some tin foil up and around those brake lines up there, and that should protect it pretty good from the weld. So I'll kind of go over the measurements on how I found where to put the front hanger. So the Toyota leaf spring center to eye is about 20 1/8, and the 63 is about 31 3/4. So I subtracted those, and you can see I got 11 5/8, and you're supposed to add a 1/4 inch just because these ones aren't under load. So that got me 11 7/8, and when I did that, the shackle angle wasn't too good, so I scooted it back just a little bit at 11 3/4. So this is about 11 3/4 from the old center. From the old center of the hole here to the center of this bolt, it's about 11 3/4. And after doing that, I just welded this up, and the shackling was pretty good, around 30 degrees. So since my Chevy leaf springs did not come with the overload, I'll be taking apart the stock Toyota one and using that one instead. You can see I did that over here, and it fits pretty good. I just have this roughly in place. Center of here to center of here, it's about 11 3/4. That's kind of where I want to be. And to find the distance it sticks out of the frame, you can just lay the spring on to the perch and kind of just see where it wants to go. You can see on this side I kind of did the same thing, and that's about where it is. See, the frame kind of is bowed out a little bit, but so about a little over an inch. And you can see it sits pretty good on the perch, and it lines up fairly straight as well with the front hanger. So back to this side, I can just take the measurement that I got from over there and line it up and make sure it's pretty good all the way around. So just making sure I got my measurements straight, center to center, 11 3/4, and it sticks out the exact same as the other side. Just making sure 11 3/4, right on the money. So getting the rear shackle mounts straight is pretty easy. You just want to butt it up exactly flush with the other one. So you can see here that it's perfectly aligned with it. And I kind of spaced it out 1/4 inch from the old one, and that gave me a pretty good shackle angle. So you can see it's just pretty good 1/4 inch, and that's how it looks from the side. So I'll go ahead and do that on the other side and get them all lined up. So just finished getting this one nice and straight. Just put all the pressure on the factory mount, and you can see where it lines up with the new one. Nice and straight. And then you can see the spacing I have in between is pretty much the exact same as the other side. Super close. Once you got it tacked into the right spot, you can take the bushings out and finish welding it. I made that mistake on the other side, and you can see it kind of melted the bushing. So make sure you take them out before you weld them. Putting in the shock relocation kind of cross member thing, and you can see I have on the body mounts a 2x4, which is 1.5 inches tall on both sides. You can see it's clearing just perfectly, and the reason you want 1.5 inches is because when the bed sits on the body mounts, there are little kind of spanning things that go across that are 1.5 inches tall. So if this can fit like this, then it won't hit the bottom of the bed. So you can see where these cross sections are compared to the corrugated spot on the bed. If you measure, it's about 1.5 inches, somewhere around there. So that's kind of where I'm putting the 2x4s to space it off 1.5 inches, so the cross member can fit underneath here. And if you have a body lift, you're going to be able to put the shock relocation up a little further, but since I have no body lift, it's got to be pretty much as low as possible. But that's still fine because the shocks I have mounted on top of the axle will be enough up travel and down travel for me. So it's pretty important to get this nice and level so it can fit under the bed without any issues. And to get it kind of straight alignment wise, you can just measure from cross member here to here as well on this side, and just make sure they're an even number. So I made some adjustments. I actually put the little bushing kind of thing that goes under the bed mounts underneath and moved the cross member up a little bit, and you can see I still have a tiny bit of clearance in there. So I think this is where I'll weld it. Got it all tacked in, making sure all my measurements are correct, and then now I can fully weld it all up. So yeah, both sides are nice and welded. This side was a bit challenging to get to because of the brake lines, but still got it pretty good. I'm getting close to being done. I just threw a fresh coat of paint on, and I'm going to put the bed back on pretty soon. And once I get some axle shims, I will put the shock tabs on for the bottom. So that way I don't put them on now and get shims in the future and have the shocks not line up. So now I'm kind of just checking my pinion angles. You can see here I have 82.4, so that's 7.6 degrees right here. And then up at the transfer case, it's 84.7, 84.6. So yeah, pretty much 5.5 degrees up here, and then 7.5 at the axle. So it looks like I need about a 2-degree shim to push the pinion downwards. And so I'm thinking about getting a 3-degree shim, so that way it's 1 degree downward, so under load it'll go up that 1 degree. All right, so I'm almost done making these little lift blocks. I just used 2.5 by 2.5 square tubing, the same stuff that I used to make the square drive shaft. So you can see it's the same stuff you use for the bigger section of the square tube drive shaft. And I just got one piece that was 24 inches long, and I was originally going to cut it in half and make these, but I decided to make them a little shorter at 10 inches up top, and I marked 5 inches at the bottom, as that's kind of roughly the size of the perch, the factory perch, and then 10 inches up top, which is going to be the new perch. So it's going to give me a little bit more spring rate and less axle wrap with this longer perch. So I just found the center, drilled a hole, and with the old center pins, I'm just going to weld them in like that. And then up top, I have a big hole for the center pin on the actual leaves. You can see I drilled this hole pretty big just so it can fit in there with lots of room, because on my old lift block you can see the hole was pretty big as well. So I kind of just wanted to do that, so in case it's a little off center, it can be right where it needs to be. All right, so I just finished welding these up, and I put these little supports on the side just because I had the extra spare metal. And then I just welded these old center pins, chopped them in half, and then welded them in there. And so yeah, they're pretty much done. All right, so yeah, it's sitting pretty good now. I got the 2.5-inch blocks in it, and sits really nicely. You can see down here. Everything looks pretty good. So I just put those shims in. You can see over there, I put them underneath the lift, and they say to put them inside of the spring pack, like open it up and bolt it in with it, but then I would be putting it on top and it's not long enough. So I just drilled the hole out and put it in the bottom, and it's such a thin shim that I think it'll be just fine. See, this thing points way lower down now, and that 2 degrees should be enough to match the flange up there. So we'll take some angles. All right, so after the shims, 85.6. You can see I put them thick side facing front, so that way it pushes it down. So 2 degrees down, now it's 85.6, both sides. And then up here, 85.4. So yeah, within tenths of a degree So that's pretty perfect. Now I can put the drive shaft back in. So I also did a 2 1/4 exhaust from the cat back. Just got a little eBay muffler and some stainless kit, and routed that all the way out the back and kind of modified some things along the way. It's not done yet, but. All right, so here's an update. I have gone ahead and finished everything on the rear axle. I put in the shock tabs, welded those in. I installed the shocks and gave everything a fresh coat of paint, and everything was all ready to go. And I started driving it, and I noticed that the steering wheel was crooked. It was turning towards the passenger side as I was going straight down the road. And so I kind of came to the conclusion that the rear axle was crooked and the passenger tire was further back than the driver tire. So that's why it was steering to kind of correct itself. So now what I'm doing here is, you can see I've got the ratchet strap hooked to both the front and the rear axle, and I'm gonna loosen the U-bolts in the back and just tighten it and see if I can get it to kind of straighten out. So I'm gonna try that, and if it doesn't work, I might just see if the alignment shop can kind of fix it for me. But other than that, it drives pretty great. All right, so eventually we tried pulling it back with the winch. It just wouldn't go far back enough, so we ended up drilling out the hole for the center pin. It was in the center, obviously, and I just drilled it further forward. And so that push where was mounted, and now I needed the other hole for the center pin up top on this mounting plate. So that's where it was before, and I scooted the center pin this way through drilling the lift block that way. And so now I'm using that hole, and I think it's gonna line up pretty good. I measured when the tire was on from the tire to here, and the same on the other side, and it was pretty close, within a 1/16 of an inch. So I'm gonna cut these U-bolts, torque them down, and then go for a test drive. All right, we got no shakes. Going 70 on the freeway, and it's steering pretty straight. So I think I got it pretty good. No more shakes. Fix the drive shaft angle. Fix the angle of the actual axle itself, and the shakes are pretty much gone. So it's pretty good. So a common problem after doing one of these swaps is the e-brake cable. And I kind of got around it rubbing the lift block by welding together these little L brackets that just extended the e-brake kind of lever thing to the side a little bit. And that was able to clear the actual lift block pretty good. And I just ended up extending all the other brackets as well, so it lined up nice and straight.